Shifting focus to another global story at this hour, the House of Representatives Select Committee held a second public hearing on the U.S. Capitol assault by thousands of Trump supporters. The former president's aides testified, saying that Trump went ahead despite being advised not to declare victory on election night only because he had not won. Monday's hearing followed a prime-time session last week when close Trump allies and even Trump's daughter Ivanka rejected his false claims of voting fraud. The congressional panel presented its findings, and according to unveiled testimony, Donald Trump ignored repeated warnings from his top aides. In his opening remarks, Democratic panel chairman Benny Thompson said Donald Trump lost the election and knew just that. And as a result of his loss, he decided to wage an attack on U.S. democracy. While he ignored warning from his aides, Trump instead listened to the advice of apparently inebriated Rudy Giuliani. Listening.
You will also hear testimony that President Trump rejected the advice of his campaign experts on election night and instead followed the course recommended by an apparently inebriated Rudy Giuliani to just claim he won and insist that the vote counting stop, to falsely claim everything was fraudulent. He falsely told the American people that the election was not legitimate. In his words, quote, a major fraud. Millions of Americans believed him.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump has deplored the congressional probe into the riot as a mockery of justice. Trump called the Democratic-led panel a kangaroo court that is hoping to distract the American people from the great pain they are experiencing. Trump's closest campaign aides, his Attorney General Bill Barr, and White House officials revealed how they had repeatedly warned Trump that his election voting fraud narrative was bogus. His top advisors told Trump that his claims of widespread election fraud were unfounded and would not reverse his election loss. But Donald Trump refused to listen. He ultimately lost the election to Joe Biden by 7 million votes.
My belief, my recommendation was to say that votes were still being counted. It's too early to tell. Too early to call the race.
And did anybody who was a part of that conversation disagree with your message?
Yes.
Who was that?
The president disagreed with that.
Georgia and Pennsylvania were among states that backed Trump in 2016 election, but went for Biden in 2020. They have been a focus of the unfounded assertions of election fraud. After crucial swing states were called for Biden, Giuliani and his associates pushed a campaign of debunked theories about massive voter fraud. The stance put them at odds with the White House lawyers.
So after investigating the president's and Mr. Giuliani's claims about voter fraud in Georgia, is it your view today that there was no evidence of widespread fraud sufficient to undermine confidence in the outcome of the election in Georgia?
That is correct. We found that the suitcase full of ballots, the alleged black suitcase that was being seen pulled from under the table, was actually an official lockbox where ballots were kept safe.
On the day of the attack, that was January 6th last year, 4 people died. One was fatally shot by police and the others of natural causes. Some 140 police officers were injured and 1 died the next day. 4 officers later died by suicide. Nearly 850 people have been arrested for crimes related to the riot, including more than 250 charged with assaulting or impeding law enforcement. For more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani has sent us this report from New York. Listening.
The House committee investigating the storming of the Capitol building on January 6, 2021 showed a testimony by former Attorney General Bill Barr and campaign advisors who challenged Donald Trump's claims regarding the 2020 U.S. presidential elections. In its second public hearing, the committee presented witness testimony which lawmakers say showed former U.S. President Donald Trump knew he lost the presidential elections, however, insisted on false allegations of voter fraud regardless. While the committee cannot formally charge Donald Trump, it seems one of its core missions has been so far to uncover the scope of his attempt to prevent the peaceful transfer of power. The next hearing is scheduled to take place on June 15th, where Trump's alleged pressure campaign to get the Justice Department to interfere in those elections is set to take center stage. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.